clear. Unpacking a fresh pack of pens, never willing to accept of fear. She's loved in many channels, every gauge and on nights and black blue lights. Heaven help them when she recites. Mysterious life, girl got skills. She moves in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. Makeshift guests and a cat that bites. When you see her coming, take your pills. No place for snowflakes or sensitive hearts. When sentiment is left to chance, she'll send you back to your start. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switches to crumpet, bends them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Verse by verse, exploring the text. She reads and recites, not knowing the tongue, learning every step of the way. Melts all your memories and feeds you facts. Her zeal is like fire, but her heart is of gold. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switch to crumpet, bans them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Smooth moderator. 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 Ooh, moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is tonight's Thursday night episode of Exploration. Thank you for being here. Still waiting on panelists. I know Ravioli and Nagar, they are... Ravioli's here. Ravioli, I sent you the link in the email. I sent one to Nagar as well. It's come from a new email address, so check your spam if it hasn't gone straight to your inbox. And that'll be the email address to use from now on, because the other one's just ridiculously too long. I don't like it. It's in junk. Yeah, because it's a new email address, so make that like a non-junk type email. Okay, right. So I'll play another tune while I'm waiting for you to pop up since you're here. At least if I've got one ears here, I'll announce the topic and we'll move forward from there. So I don't play. I'm not sure if I've played this one in a while.
Exploring consciousness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. From the realm of the dead, stumbling through fractured reality. Truth is a needle in a haystack. Was it all a bad dream? What on earth could have happened to me? Truth is a needle in a haystack. Discern fake from reality. Time lost, pitch black, dopamine hits, thinking slow and fast. Watch a narrative fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up. Watch a narrative fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up, waking up. Waking up, waking
Ravioli. Welcome.
Hi, Lieutenant. How are you? You alright?
I'm all right. Thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, well done. Yeah, I'm okay. We've had some pretty spring-like sunshine, right? Last couple of days been good. It's been
Yeah,
bloody
it's been lovely.
Yeah, it does. Thinking of the vitamin D, Lieutenant. You know.
Yes, I was thinking the same actually. I need to be
Yeah.
getting out and getting a bit more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got too much to do around this place. It's
And-
still upside down.
Nagar, I'm not sure because where she is I think it's 2 hours ahead. So it would be like Nelly getting on for 11. So I think she's near Bucharest in Romania at the moment.
Okay.
So she might be listening. It's very possible, but I'm not sure if she'll be joining though. But I reckon she might be listening though.
Okay, that's great. We'll just
Sorry, Lieutenant, you're stuck with me
continue.
for. Sorry, Lieutenant.
That's fine, no problem at all. Just don't want to take too much time. So, without further ado, where's my things? Right, okay. So, tonight's topic is. You love it, don't you?
I don't know how you did that. It's clever that effect. What?
It's vitamin D versus hormone D. What do we really know? So we're going back to that topic. Because last time, I don't know if you recall, we covered... Oh, hang on a minute. When did we last do that?
I think...
That was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, Lieutenant. I was going to say
Oh.
that. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to change my mind. Hang on. What could we do? Oh, no. Right. Gonna have to play this while I have a little think. I can't believe this.
That's right, Lieutenant. That's right.
There's a hustle and a bustle. It's been hustling and a bustling a while, a long, long while. This town is now a city. It's a city on a town. It's concrete over beauty. How that came to be. Lights go out, but it's wide awake. I can feel it breathing. The city with a purpose.
I've got it.
Well done.
I've got the topic. I've got the topic. And so without further ado, tonight's topic is liberalism. What do we really know?
Right.
So we're going back to that. Remember, we've only covered that topic once, and we mainly just covered what our understanding of liberalism is. And I think we
Yep.
all expressed that we've heard of like classical liberalism and how it ties in with socialism and communism and Marxism and all these kinds of different ideologies. We just basically said what we thought of it, and we covered something, an article. So what I'm wanting to do is look at a video that I came across. Now
Oh yeah.
I've got to find it. So in the video, it's an interview and it covers women, female liberals, today's liberals, right? And it's from this author's perspective. Now I've got to try and find the video. This is unbelievable. I'm so unprepared. Do you have anything on liberalism from the last time we talked about it?
Not. I mean, it's just again. I think I just remember how it basically it's the value, isn't it, of sort of the individual, isn't yeah. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, I'd never really. I hadn't thought about it in that detail, like for a long time.
Yeah.
When I kind of just thinking how, yeah, like sort of it places, yeah, the value on personal sort of autonomy. That's kind of what I took away from it. But it was interesting how it overlapped with other belief systems and things.
Yeah. So you have you looked into it since then, though? Like, have you dug up anything?
No, not really. To be honest with you, no.
Yeah, that's okay. That's no problem. I'm just gonna try and find this video. It's in my history here.
I did find out that there is a Liberal Democrat who lives literally meters from me. I
Oh
didn't.
dear.
So yeah.
There's something wrong with those people, I'm telling you. We've seen like what they do. Like, look at the Green Party at the moment. They're terrible. Yeah, some of the things that they're proposing about legalizing some very, very dangerous that are already illegal hard drugs, and making them available. I think there was talk of them making them available for children or something so that they could learn the dangers of them. I mean,
not good.
Yeah.
I saw that article you put up the other day on your channel. I couldn't believe. I think that was Labour, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that was in 2014. That was in 2014, 12 years ago. Imagine how bad they are now.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, way more decadent, way more disgusting now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Right. I can't find that video, but I know the channel that it's on, so let me find that. I found it. Good. So this was released. This was released about a month ago.
Right.
We might not get to go through. Well, yeah, we won't get to cover all of it tonight, but we're going to watch parts of it, and just watch a little bit, discuss what it says. Watch a little bit, discuss what it says. So keep your mic open if there's anything you want to discuss, then I can just quickly pause it. Hello, Penfold in the chat. Tina has let me know that Tina's let me know that she can't make it tonight. I think she's going to be busy doing something. Bless her. That's okay.
Fair enough.
Right. So I'll add this to stage. Now, this is a channel, Winston Marshall. He was in the band Mumford.
Oh, yeah.
And Sons, is it?
Yeah, that's right. I know them.
Yeah. And with all of the woke stuff that's going on, he ended up departing the band because he just doesn't want to be woke. So anyway, he's now developed his YouTube channel, and I think he's brilliant. He's very respectful, and he does try to get to the root of things in his interviews, and I enjoy watching him. You know, there's not much messing about, so let's give this a listen.
They're just idiots. This is vanity. This is more showing off.
How do we get to this place?
It's at the core of the whole progressive mentality. It is obsession with the self. If you look at these ICE protests.
Yeah, you're a Nazi.
Do you see them like, sorry, so terrible. It is a performance. It is acting out guilt rather than feeling it. They have cast themselves as the main actors. The immigrants themselves are irrelevant. They don't derive any sense of meaning from their nationality except in the negative.
What do you mean when you say the Great Replacement theory, and do you think it exists?
The bottom line is pro-immigration is also connected to professed self-hatred in the West. If we are not willing to give birth to and raise another generation, then other people are going to take our place, and we deserve it.
Has the UK been colonized? Before we get into this interview, I just wanted to say that we have noticed that more than half of our regular viewers are not subscribed. If you want to support the Winston Marshall Show, all you have to do is press subscribe. If you do that, we can have more phenomenal guests exploring the issues you want to hear about that the mainstream media won't touch. But without further ado, on with the interview. Lionel Shriver, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and speak with me. And congratulations on A Better Life, your new novel, where you explore the hot topic of immigration, which I want to explore with you in this conversation, specifically a book about a family who take in an immigrant in the States, and the family itself are divided on whether they want to do that, and you explore the differences there. What I was hoping in this conversation to do with you, as there is much talk about sort of the economics of immigration or the politics of immigration, I actually want to explore the different attitudes between progressives and conservatives on immigration, how it's become a moral issue, almost opposite, sort of two opposite sides of the same coin. And it's the same problem in America, it's the same here in Britain. And I want to sort of explore that, the core ideologies at play, the core emotions at play, right down to the bottom if we can get there. But for more framing, if I may, this week, or rather last week, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the owner of Manchester United, just got skewered in the press. Did you see this?
I did.
He said, UK has been colonized by immigrants, really, hasn't it? And he got attacked by pretty much the entire establishment, including the Prime Minister, told to apologize. Rare that the Prime Minister tells people to apologize. He hasn't told anyone to apologize about the grooming gangs yet. Marco Rubio in his Munich speech also brought up migration. I want to explore that. So before we get into the sort of dividing lines, is Sir Jim correct? Has the UK been colonized?
Of course. You know, if you take the same number of Britons, white Britons, and you transport them to any other country outside of Europe, it's going to be called colonization. In fact, it would be called settler colonialism, apropos of Israel. But for some reason, when it's people arriving here, you can't use that language. And again, it's partly, this is just a linguistic issue. The word is charged. It's used to demonize British history, and therefore you can't use, the wrong side is using that word. So that side can't use that word except with a sense of shame. It can't use, the right cannot use that word with accusation. So, this is basically a silly word game, and basically you can't. I mean, the bottom line is you can't say anything negative about immigration. So this is just another iteration of that.
Yeah, you can't say anything. But it's curious. I think you're pointing to there, which is when the left do it, and they have done on the tube. On the tube, I mean the London Underground for our American listeners. There are posters celebrating colonization in reverse, that immigrants are coming to Britain and this is their opportunity to get one back, get their revenge. And there are political commentators here celebrating. Of course, it's colonization. It's our time now. There's a moderately well-known far-left commentator called Ash Sarkar who openly claims not to be British, or has openly claimed not to be British, and has said of the London becoming minority white, that yes, lads, we're winning, as in the minorities are winning now. So it seems that when the left do it, it's okay to say pro-colonization, but if the right point out a problem, that's a great taboo.
Oh, yes. Well, the left conventionally talks out of two sides of its mouth on this business. And this is also the case in the U.S. On the one hand, if you tout the so-called Great Replacement theory, and you're concerned about the diminution of the native population, then you're a racist, and this is deplorable. You can't use the word invasion. And on the other, these same people are busy celebrating the idea of white European populations becoming minorities in their own countries. That this is a wonderful thing. That this is more diversity, and therefore the good people are winning out against the bad people. And you can't, you would think you couldn't maintain both those positions, but somehow hypocrisy never bothers these people.
You say the Great Replacement theory there. Do you think that, what do you mean when you say the Great Replacement theory, and do you think it exists?
Well, I have a character in my book who says it's not a theory. It's just a fact. I mean, there is an element. I mean, I don't think it's a conspiracy from on high exactly, but demographically, when you've got a native population that isn't replacing itself, that's the real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then and you have a very high rate of immigration, then obviously the native population is being replaced. So in that sense, it's just a fact.
So replacement, you agree, is happening.
Yes.
But Great Replacement theory, which sort of alludes to some grand design, some reptile, Davos living
French.
Yeah. French or German. You don't think that's, well, actually,
it's a way, that's been used against me. One of the early reviews on this book said that I had embraced Great Replacement theory. And it once again, this is just a branding thing. It just means you're on the wrong side of immigration. That's all of this language. It's just that's a matter of being put in a category. It's just the little corral for the bad people, and this is an issue that seems to divide people more perfectly than any other I know, and it's absolute. There is no way. I mean, the only comparison that I know of is Trump, right? You have to be on one side or the other. There is no middle ground. And as soon as you use a certain word, you will brand yourself as in one camp or
do you mean
another.
immigration?
In immigration,
yeah.
In the same way that you cannot be middle of the road on Trump. You are either a Trump supporter or you're part of the good people. But there is no picking and choosing and saying some of these, this is what I try to do and I never get away with it. I like some of his policies. I don't like.
Right. I can take that back a little bit. I see you said that you have a question there, Ravioli. Ravioli, you're muted. I can't unmute you because you chose to mute yourself, Ravioli. Right, I'll continue press and play then.
Oh, sorry, Lieutenant. Sorry, hang on a minute. There was just a problem there. Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a. No, I think. Yeah, no, sorry, Lucy. Lucy, please don't. Sorry. No. Sorry, Lieutenant. Yeah, I was going to say, like, you see what I put in the chat. Did you think it might be something like economic things, that basically, like, kind of old ideals, family or wedding, marriage, those kinds of things were replaced by
Yes,
the modern world?
it sounds like the priorities have switched. It used to be a case of you put your family and your communities first and all the
Yep.
rest falls into place. Whereas at the minute, we're seeing a lot of people are putting the job, the career, the financial situation and status, your marital status, whether you're a homeowner or not, all of these materialistic things are being made a priority at the moment. And the family is expected to fall into place with that, which we know can never happen because human beings don't fall into line with a system they've created. They're supposed to have a system that falls into line with them, right? Because it's supposed to meet our needs. We're not supposed to meet its needs.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's good. So that's an interesting point that you've raised there. Are you okay if I just press play again?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Does
Yeah,
that answer that?
I'll mute myself. Yep. Well, no,
Yep, no problem.
The way he's going about pursuing them.
Oh, you can't do that.
No,
Yeah.
forget it.
Yeah, no, I've had trouble with that as well.
Right.
No, okay, so let's try and understand why that is the case, because it hasn't always been the case. Bernie Sanders, he, in his career, has been pro-borders, and there's certainly not. It was not always the case that the left was pro-open
That's right,
borders.
because the left wanted to protect the
Workers.
native workforce from unfair competition that will undercut their wages.
Yeah.
That used to be the standard Democratic line. But I guarantee you that even Bernie Sanders never says that anymore.
Right, he doesn't say anymore.
Yeah.
And it's also the case that Obama deported millions. Biden, I mean, he let in millions, but he also did some deportations. It seems that it's maybe the mixing of it with Trump that has made it so contentious issue. But why?
Well, I think it's not a coincidence that I instinctively reach for Trump as the only parallel I know of, because they've become the same. It is, and Trump has crystallized the absoluteness of the different camps, and there is no mixing, and there is no moral compromise. I mean, as soon as someone picks up my novel, and let's say a progressive picks up my novel and detects that the book is not perfectly supportive of mass immigration, I become the evil author. I mean, it's just, that's it.
Yeah. So why is it that that's become the case? Why is it that this is so emotive? Why is it that this is a profound moral sin to be anti-migration? Keep in mind, there are people on the left now who are losing their lives in the name of defending immigrants, or rather illegal immigrants. They're not just defending migration. They are defending illegal immigrants, criminals, because it's so important to them. I'm, of course, referring to Renee Good and
Alex
Pretty. That's right. So how do we get to this place?
Aha. Now, before she answers that question, Ravioli, do you have anything to say what you think the answer to that question would be? Do you have any ideas? Or Ravioli, you are muted. Okay. I'll put my tuppence in. I think that we've got females in positions of power and influence, which, motherhood is, but they're actually doing it in workplaces and it's more widespread in society. It's not just in the home place. And I think the female mind being more emotionally minded than logically minded, and their weapon when it comes to any kind of challenge, any kind of conflict, any kind of battle of the wills and kind of thrashing out ideas, they typically go to emotional weaponry, and therefore it goes into emotional abuse, and psychological abuse. And whereas men, they typically fight with their physical prowess, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right,
this is how we are built to deal with things, right? Because the male is, this is when everything's in an ideal situation and we're all healthy beings and there isn't a mental health crisis and all the rest of it, which I think is being brought on because of this problem as well, right? That basically,
I think it doesn't help things. I think it definitely makes the mental health problems worse.
I see it everywhere in the mental health sector. I see it everywhere, and I've seen it for years, right? And it is recorded, but no one talks about it because they'll cry misogyny, just like you can't talk about skin color, the differences in what's needed for the individual dependent upon the amount of melanin in the skin. You can't talk about that because someone will cry racism, right? So you can't talk facts because of this specific problem that we've got here. And I think it's women have possibly not got enough challenge on their plate that they're actually creating challenges out of nothing.
Right.
They're creating something to be concerned about because they've got it all pretty much laid out. Like, they don't have to work hard like a man does to get his position because they can manipulate and they can demand equality and all of this, even though they haven't actually earned the position like a man has, right? So they're part of the problem of putting the great meritocracy down the pan, right? And thus bringing in tyranny without the emotional mind. This is what happens with the emotional mind, right? So I think it's down to that. I think it's not entirely that, there's other factors, but I think it's a big part of it, that women with their emotional manipulations have got themselves a nice cushy get up, and they're overpowering each other and pretty much shaming each other into the idea of being a stay-at-home mother and embracing the most important job in the world. And no, they've got to ditch that idea. They've got to go out. They've got to be successful. They've got to be powerful. They've got to gain power over the man. And it's all girl power and all of this. And yay, women's independence and all the rest of it. But that means that I call it kind of like feminazism. So I think they're like pushing each other into that corner to the point that women aren't allowed to say, no, I would just want to stay at home and be a mum. I just want to have children. And I want to keep a nice home for my husband, who will be my provider, and my children, who I will be raising, to prosper and live a truly fulfilling life. They're not allowed to say that. So everything's kind of imbalanced, but ultimately set themselves up where they've got this relatively easily played compared to men, because the men have to make all of that possible,
Yeah.
Women forget that like most of the inventions have come from men, and anything that the women have invented has had to use part of what men have invented anyway, right? But this is all made possible by the man. And anyway, they've got this relatively easy life. Hi, daft lad. It's okay if you're late. And they're kind of left with not much of a challenge. And they haven't got the challenge that, whether they like it or not, they're designed to take on, which is motherhood, right? And I can say this, like, I'm not a mother. And so I'm in this predicament myself. Like, I've got it pretty easy compared to women, say, 50 years ago who weren't mothers
Yeah.
compared to that. So I
Mm.
think they've set themselves up with nothing much to complain about. So when anyone who is having a tough time and they play the minority card, right, whatever that is, whether it's racism, whether it's immigrant, nationality status, whatever that so-called protected category is, they play that little victim card, and these privileged women who've denied themselves of their own role in life, if you like, they're kind of like they've set themselves up to feel guilty, and how to deal with that is to overcompensate with all of this signaling of virtue and everything.
Mm.
That they just look like a mess. Like most of the most of these pro-Palestine protests and everything, we saw predominantly white, middle-aged, middle-class women
Yep.
who had all the privileges without ever having to lift a finger. Like they don't raise their children; they go to the nail bar and they get something to send their kids off to private school or off to boarding school or something, or put a smartphone in front of their face. Like that'll keep them quiet while I get my nails done. Which is, the smartphone, the device, whatever the device is, that's not good for the child's brain. So, I mean, I could go on about that, but that's where I'm looking at the problem is. I wonder what she's going to say, but do you have any thoughts on it, Rodney?
Well, if Nagar was here, I think she'd be able to have a good conversation with you, Lieutenant, on this. I wish she was here.
Yeah. I should
she'd have plenty to say on, but
I should imagine she will have plenty to say on it because
I know
she's been a school teacher.
My oldest sister, not Lucia, God, no, she's well, I don't know, like choosing career and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say she's in that kind of world, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's pretty deep what you're saying, Lieutenant. It's hard for me to really. I kind of agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm trying to think if I disagree with.
Or if you have anything to add to that, anything else that might be a contributing
I think
factor?
there'll be like a maturity soon, because it's going to have to be, isn't it? Because it can't go on like this.
No,
like
it can't
there's going to be yeah. So I'm just trying to work out what the moment might be. Where,
it's not fair to men, actually, the fact that it's like this either. It's having a terrible impact on white men's suicide rates in the West, But going back to what his question is before...
See, Lieutenant, there is one thing I'll just say, like, there is something, like, I don't know if you've heard this, like, how I kind of, like, imagine it will go with a lot of people is, like, I think they're going to start saying, what have you done, like, for the land itself? What have you done for the country, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the argument will go down more like, well, okay, I was in a family or connected to people that served in World War I or II. What did your lot?
It's already gone there.
But I reckon it will be more like more. I think they're going to, because when people say, we do, all these jobs, all this work, all this or that, the other, I think people will say, well, hang on, you haven't sacrificed your life for the nation yet.
I don't know if it'll come down to that. I think because there's a big, huge elephant in the room with regards to the NHS and the state of it. If you look at that and immigration and why Liberals want to take you away from the conversation of immigration and the impact that has on the NHS, I think that's where the conversation will go. Okay, what's your impact on the NHS when you come here, right? Are you part of destroying our NHS, which is what's destroying us at the moment? Even though it's the most heavily funded healthcare system in the developed world, and yet it has the worst outcome in the developed world. Now, the outcome is supposed to be health and life. So that tells you that if it's got the worst outcome, that means it's got the highest death rates, the highest sickness rates.
Yep.
And yet it gets the most money. What's going wrong? This is where the conversation about immigration is. And it goes a lot bigger than what anyone can imagine. It's not just about staff. It's not just about who we're hiring and who we're training instead of our own. It goes way, way deeper than that, along with the food industry, nutrition, and all the rest of it. But okay, that's enough about that. We'll go back and we'll hear Lionel Shriver's answer. First of all, shall we have a break?
Yeah, Lieutenant, it's nearly 1:15, and yeah, I have to go at like 1:15, but
okay, I'm going to play a song. You can drop out, and I'll come back to this video on my own.
Yeah, thank you, Lieutenant.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I'm sorry about being a bit cut short today, but no, I will be listening on my travels because I'm going about.
That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry. I'm going to cut into the break now. You just drop out. We'll catch up later, or return. Respond to my email. We'll catch up.
Thank you, Lieutenant, and everyone.
That's all right.
Right,
you enjoy the rest of your evening, Ravioli. God bless.
Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't have added more, guys, but yeah, have a good weekend. Right, bye then. Bye. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Bye bye.
Didn't think I'd fallen that far. Thought I'd be able to come back on my own. Thought I could manage what I'd allowed. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Until I asked for help, I kept falling. Thought I was going round in circles. It was a downward spiral, relentless eyes. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. I asked for help and that felt like hell. Didn't realize how much pain I was disarming. How many demons and ill will I was carrying. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Conquer them. To conquer them. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. Learning my downfalls is difficult. All of them had become my normal. I'm afraid of them and relieved to have found them. As though I've bitten off more than I could chew. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. Back from the dead, back from the dead.
Okay, I hope you haven't been waiting too long from the end of the song. I just had to quickly grab a cup of tea. So let's get back to this video. I have sent you the link, Banksy, if you're there listening, if you're traveling. So just rock up as and when. Now, let's go back and hear what she called Lionel Shriver. Let's hear her answer to the question.
Well, immigration in the modern era, in the the woke era, has always been in the mix, and I guess it first of all, it does connect with race. It connects with income inequality, another left-wing cause. It is about disadvantaged and therefore arguably victimized groups. It has to do with the whole idea of the white majority, the European majority, versus minorities, and of course the minorities are sacred, and the that makes the white people the profane. I mean, it hits all of their favorite subjects, and in combining them in one issue, it's the lightning rod. This is the third rail. This is what's going to make them more hysterical than any other subject.
And yeah, so it's the sacred cow. It's combined everything. It's the chimera of all of these important issues for them. What do progressives get wrong about migration? What do they? Listeners now will understand quite clearly that you're a conservative, not least because you've expressed it explicitly. But what do they not get about immigration? Why are they wrong to make this? To think what they do, assuming that they are wrong?
I think they reject the whole concept of the nation state, and yet they don't take responsibility for that. Right? They don't actually come out and say, we don't want to have countries. Because I don't think that you can have a country without a border, particularly in a world that many other people want in. I mean, you can probably have a country without a border if a lot of you people want out, but not if a lot of people want in. That therefore your country becomes fundamentally meaningless. It's just, and it certainly becomes culturally meaningless because it's just a way station. You're just a place. It reduces country to geography, and conventionally, we think countries are more than geography. So I think that this is definitely connected. This pro-immigration is also connected to professed self-hatred in the West. Although I question that. That is, I think that may the self-hatred they're promoting, they exempt themselves from.
What does that mean?
In other words, if you hate yourself, you hate yourself. But these people hate other people in
the name of hating themselves.
In the name of so it's supposedly this hair shirtery that we have this terrible history. We had slavery. We murdered the Indians in the U.S. So we have no moral claim to this land. But apropos of the Billie Eilish quote, they're not giving their houses away.
Right.
Very good point. So they're putting on this act that they hate themselves, and the rest of us should get on board and hate ourselves. But they don't actually hate themselves because they're not destroying their own lives. They're not forfeiting their own homes. They're not giving away or having to sell their own cars in order to be able to donate even more money or have even more tax taken away from them to cover the cost of these degenerate immigrants who have a much lower IQ than our average here in the West, because they're not as advanced as us due to their own culture and decision making of their own forebearers. So I think that might be a syndrome or something, you know. Let's hear what she's got to say.
Right. And so it doesn't really apply to them. And I don't think that their emotional experience of promoting hatred of their own people and their own country is one of genuine self-hatred. They love themselves. They're very proud of themselves. It's a kind of vanity. So to call that self-hatred is wrong. It is actually a loathing for your fellow countrymen who don't agree with you.
Yeah, it's false humility.
Yes, it's a complete. It is a performance. You know, it is acting out. It is acting out guilt rather than feeling it.
And at that, in comes some splendid StreamYard effects. Where is it? Listen. There. Wasn't it all worth it? Now, back to it.
So why would they loathe their fellow countrymen?
Because they don't have these pure moral values, and they don't go through the theatrics of caring more about people who are disadvantaged than they do about themselves and their own group. I think the whole thing is emotionally very convoluted, because all this talk of shame, these people don't act as if they're experiencing shame. The emotions they exude, if you look at these ICE protests, if we're going to be contemporary about it, do you see them like,
yeah,
sorry, I feel so terrible. Please don't look at me. You get any of that? No, actually, if you feel shame, you stay home.
Yeah.
Right?
If you feel contrition, you stay quiet.
You stay home.
Yeah.
You're basically going to crawl under the bed.
Yeah.
You do not want to be seen, and you hide. That's what real guilt feels like. We're constantly talking about white guilt, and I think it's complete rubbish. These people do not feel guilty in the slightest. They do not really think that they are responsible for slavery. They know they didn't kill any Indians, you know, and they think that if everyone were like them, then the whole country would be righteous. They are big show-offs. And so this is just like wearing a t-shirt. It is not real guilt. Real guilt. There's a line in this book, when you're really feeling guilty for something, you want to crawl down a sewer manhole and pull the lid over your head.
Yeah.
So that's not when I look at the ICE protests, they're angry, but a certain quality for anger, right? A righteous anger. Righteous anger. This is vanity. This is more showing off. And the funny thing is, I mean, you say they're risking their lives. They're not consciously risking their lives. They're just fucking idiots, right? Because these are middle class, upper middle class people. They don't usually have run-ins with the police. For the most part, these are white people. So they're not really afraid of the police. They don't take them seriously. They don't take the fact that they're interfering with law enforcement, with officers who are armed, and that is dangerous and probably dumb. So I think they have a sense of entitlement and therefore of imperviousness. Like,
now this, before she goes on, this sense of entitlement is what I believe has come from this whole women's rights movement, which I perceive to be entirely sexist because it's against the man. It's not involving the man, it's in opposition of the man. And it's all about wanting to be more powerful than him, wanting to conquer him, not work with him, right? Which human rights compared to women's rights does permit. Women's rights doesn't permit a place for the man. And we don't have man's rights. We have human rights, which is for everyone. So when you've given, whether it's women, whether it's trans rights, for example, whether it's gay rights and all the rest of it, right? When you're given a certain group of people, whether it's all women, all gay, or all lesbian, all trans, whatever, right? You're given that certain group, that certain category, if you like, pigeonholes, I can't stand them. You're given that certain group some rights that you're not given the rest. That's inequality. That is tyranny, because you're excluding all the rest, and it's creating that two-tier system. Now, when you've got loads of two-tier systems all over the place, right, you've got a broken down community. You've got an unequal. Inequality is what it's brought in, right? Whereas when you've got human rights, that covers everyone. There is no exclusion in everyone, right? Look up the definition of everyone. It doesn't say all but. No, it says all. ALL, right? Everyone. There's no exclusion in that. So when you've got, going back to what she's saying, this Lionel Shriver, when you've got women that have got rights and they're different to human rights, and they're the kind of rights that men haven't got, or they're certainly browbeaten into forgetting about. They're being manipulated into forgetting about, right? So you've got these women that are now entitled, right? Because they've gotten away with that for generations, and they're brought up to be like that by the women who've gotten away with that. And they were brought up by women who got away with that. And, you know, it comes down the generations. So you've got these entitled women. Hi, Natalie. I end this at 10, Natalie. I don't have an open panel on a Thursday. So you've got these entitled women that I think movements like the girl power of the Spice Girls, can't stand them, could never stand that girl power thing, right? Because I could just see how oppressive that is to men, right? Now, that doesn't just empower one or two women who may have been abused, right? Vast majority of women are not abused. Vast majority of men are not abusers. We need to remember this, okay? There's been some tragic stories in history. Human history is terrible, yeah? The vast majority of men don't abuse women. The vast majority of women are not abused by men, okay? So for the sake of, obviously I'm saying this loosely, a handful of women, if you like, right? This girl power movement has emboldened the already emboldened, okay? So they've gone OTT. When you've got too much of something, it's debaucherous, right? It goes into the negative as opposed to being the flourishing positive. It goes into the negative. And this is where we've got the sense of entitlement that I think this Lionel Shriver is talking about. So yeah, I've just rambled again. Let's go back to it.
Nothing's going to happen to me because I have right on my side. I don't sense that these people are experimenting with civil disobedience in the spirit of the old civil rights days. If nothing else,
They think they do.
They think that this is the tradition, but what happened with the protesters in the civil rights movement is that they willingly, passively gave over to being arrested. All right? They sat in the wrong part of the bus and expected to be arrested. They didn't hurt anybody. They didn't break any other laws aside from the ones that they were protesting. And they willingly accepted the consequences would be, having to give themselves up to the law. And that was the format. This is different.
So you think that they don't now, even after these two famous cases of Good being killed, I'd say it's her fault from what my analysis of it, and likewise Pretty, again, he shouldn't have been antagonizing ICE like that. But
yeah, and I think we should both. Not a bad time to clarify. While I think that they were both foolhardy, they did not deserve to be shot.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. It doesn't go without saying, I think.
Yes, it was horrible to look at, and it does. There's something not right about it. Nevertheless, it is the case that had they not been antagonizing ICE like they were, it would never have happened. They put themselves in a stupid situation.
And also, the emotions that I'm talking about, and this is, as much as anything, that's my business.
Right. So this
they are hugely hostile, and spitting on these officers, calling them Nazis. They are enjoying themselves in that anger, and I feel quite strongly that they have cast themselves in this particular scenario as the center of the story, as the main actors, and the immigrants themselves are almost irrelevant. It's just an excuse. They're off to the side. This is ostensibly your purpose, but what they are enjoying is the direct conflict with authority, and going out on someone else's behalf. But it's more that they are the saviors. They are the righteous ones. This is one big, what's it called? White savior narrative. That's exactly what it is. It's what they claim is a terrible thing to do. It's what if I wrote a different kind of novel.
They think white savior narrative is bad.
It's terrible.
But they are actually acting it.
That's actually what they're doing. Yes.
And white savior being bad meaning, because it's...
in fiction for at least the last 10 years, that's one of the things that progressive literary people have seized upon. That's if you have a white savior narrative, then you're casting the privileged white person as the hero who's rescuing the poor minorities, and that will not do. The white people don't get to perform that role. They have to be incidental, or you just have to write about little white people stories.
Right.
Don't include anyone else. That's another.
So they've sort of created a trap for themselves where they've said you can't do the white savior stuff, but then when it comes to this issue, silence is also violence. So they have to do something. But best thing I think is just to avoid the contradiction, and not the best thing. They think the best thing, and that's the position they've got themselves into. Well, you say righteous anger.
Mm-hmm.
It's self-righteous anger, not righteous anger, right?
Well, to the people who are feeling it, it feels like righteous anger. To us, looking at them, it looks like self-righteous anger.
Yes. So that part of that emotion of theirs has been hijacked to this issue. And what would you think would be a healthier way for them, let's say in good faith, let's say they care about this issue and they want to do something about it. What would be a reasonable thing for them to do?
I don't know, write an op-ed.
So how much do you think this comes down? What you've been describing is sort of narcissism, basically writ large.
Yes.
How profound?
Well observed.
How deep is this? I think of Jonathan Haidt and in his The Righteous Mind. He talks about moral foundations theory and the sort of split between progressives and conservatives. And progressives tend, or liberals, I think he used that word rather, tend to over-index and sort of harm protection, and conservatives more on loyalty, group-based. I'm just trying to get to the where's the deepest we can go to find the sort of the emotional dividing line here. And I don't know if maybe we've gone as deep as we can, but I wonder if you had any insight there.
Well, definitely on the left on this issue, the position is that they're the caring people. They also embrace this notion of racial shame. And on the other side are the bigots, who are selfish, and also, well, I'm sure we'll get into it, but who are economically ignorant, because we need immigrants.
Right.
And somehow I think the right on this issue is cast as the people of the past, right? The who are increasingly old and irrelevant, because the future is young and foreign.
Which I must press pause and say indicates certainly to me supremacy. Okay, they are very, very arrogant and coming at everything from a place of conceit, to be looking back or anywhere other than themselves and looking at them as lesser or of the past, as how Lionel Shriver described it there.
There's no sense. I mean, this part I think is genuine. That on the left, they don't really believe in their countries.
Yeah.
They don't derive any sense of meaning from their nationality, except in the negative. And a lot of the progressive world is negative. It's all against. But in a positive sense, there is nothing. The only positive is in the joy of organizing this self-hatred, this fake self-hatred. There is no. There's a hole where the pride should be, and I don't think that can be a basis for a successful culture, and I don't think it's really at the basis psychologically for a successful self. These people are often miserable, and in fact, the left tends to poll as, especially on the female side, as much more unhappy than the rest of the country. And I really think it has to do with this sense of void at the center of the ideology. We talk about how the woke thing has become a religion, but it definitely doesn't provide a kind of spiritual sustenance that traditional religion did. There's something missing at the center of this ideology that just eats people up.
Yeah.
I definitely want to come back to the male-female divide there. But this whole is interesting because the inverse, maybe, if you looked at like Nazi Germany, it would be that nationalism has filled the hole of God, and that the nation state and a pure nation state was the motivation behind everything. And what you're describing here is this sort of anti-nation state has filled.
Yes.
So it's like it's a black hole inversion of, well, it's not quite Nazism, but it's sort of, it is, I mean, I do think this comes back to the Second World War, and we've explored this a lot on the show, and Karl
Yes.
Popper. And
Yeah, I've seen any number of those episodes, actually.
If you think I'm wrong, do challenge me on that. But it seems to me that's where the anti-nation state seems to occur. It's curious.
Yes, and that's why we started idolizing these international organizations.
Yes.
So I am much in concurrence with your reading of that.
I find it strange that happened in America, because it was American nationalism that defeated Nazism, or it was the American nation state, obviously with its allies in Britain and Russia and around the world. But I can understand why the Germans would have had that reaction, understandable, but it doesn't make sense why the American spirit would have taken a knock. Do you have any insight into that?
Well, I mean, this is bigger than we're going to get into, but obviously it has to do with the growth of the progressive movement that really got going in my younger days. Seems to have come to its insane peak in the last 10 years, but it's been going on my whole life. And, I was a part of it to begin with.
You were part of the problem?
Oh, yes, I was a part of the problem.
How so?
Oh, no, when I was a teenager, yeah, I wore beads, and I went to anti-Vietnam protests. Actually, that was the one point in which I think I was probably sound. It was a crummy war,
yeah,
and it was a waste of American resources, and let's face it, we lost. So, yeah. And my older brother was in line for the draft, so I felt that I had a dog in this fight, although I don't think that metaphor is very kind to him. But I grew up on the left. My parents were liberal Democrats.
So when was your Damascene moment? When did you turn?
I don't think it was a single moment, but I didn't really start questioning my political upbringing until I was in my early 30s. I moved to Northern Ireland, and that really made a conservative out of me.
Did it really?
Yeah.
What about Northern Ireland made you into a conservative?
I hated the IRA, virtually on sight. And by the way, I arrived there with no opinions about the place whatsoever. I was completely ignorant. But I was actually a blank slate. There is such a thing. And I just found the IRA, the people in it, their rhetoric, and not to mention what they were doing, completely repulsive and unjustifiable. What the terrible injustice that they were fighting was comparatively trivial, considering what they were willing to do to press their cause. And in the main, the discrimination against Catholics by the time I arrived in 1987 had been, if anything, overcompensated for, and yet they weren't giving it up.
So why did that make you a conservative rather than, let's say, unionist?
Partly because Democrats in the U.S. were often very pro-IRA. It was considered a liberation movement, and so I thought, well, that's just morally off.
Right.
I have the same response to the Democratic response to October 7th. It's morally off. Sorry, this does not compute. Why are you backing this? Why can't you see that this is disgusting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
that helped a separation. And I also on a completely different issue fell out with my father on Clinton's welfare reforms, because my father was indignant over Clinton's welfare reforms. Clinton was trying to really cut the welfare rolls and get people back to work. And I thought that was great. And my father threatened to never give another dime to the Democratic Party again. And I thought, this doesn't make sense. This is ultimately condescending.
Hang on a minute. She remembers when Clinton was a president, and he was trying to cut out some welfare to get people back to work. Yet today, the Democrats and, Clinton himself and herself will condemn Trump when he's trying to do the same. It's hypocritical. That's what I'm seeing, the common theme here. Hypocrites amongst liberals, today's liberals anyway. But yeah, we'll continue. We've got another 13 or so minutes left.
Sending, because my father was a workaholic, and he took great pride in his professional achievements. Why would you wish worklessness for other people?
And why do you think he did? What was his thinking? How had he got to that place?
Well, it's the politics of pity. I don't think I don't think that's I did not think that was well thought through. And if he really felt compassion for people on the welfare rolls, he'd want them off the welfare rolls. That is not a dignified existence. It is not a rich existence. It's emotionally impoverished, as well as keeping you at a certain level of financial poverty.
So you want to create incentives to go the other way.
Yeah.
Can I ask about the male-female divide on this? It's not apparent or self-evident to me that women would be progressive on the issue of immigration. In fact, the opposite. Because if a woman evolutionary has evolved to protect an infant, and we see, certainly in Britain, that it is young children, young girls that are being systematically raped, abused. You'd think that mothers, and now there are movements, by the way, there's the pink mothers up in Epping, but you'd think that mothers would be more conservative and women would be more conservative in having a strong border, protecting the vulnerable in their society. And yet it looks like polling shows women are increasingly, certainly young women, harder and harder left. In fact, people have been claiming it's young men who are going further and further right. But over the last few years, there's some reports, the FT did a report on this, that it's actually the women who, not just in the West, but in South Korea and other parts of the world, the women who are going much further left. What's your take and understanding of that sort of, to me, that inconsistency?
I do think that in terms of maternal instinct, it's inverted, because you would think that you would care most about the usual, care about your immediate family, then your larger family, your town and region, out to your own country, and then out to all of humanity, maybe. But that all humanity thing is less intense. The intense sense of protection starts close to home, and this is instead starts out there. That's where all the intense feelings are. Now, I come back again to my analysis of this emotionally. Ultimately, the people out there are completely irrelevant. It's all about the self. Right? That's where the passion comes from. The self, and also intra-group rivalry. Competition between women, for example, over who's more righteous, who cares more, who's the purest and goodest person, right? And it doesn't. Look at the Palestinian thing. What do these people have to do with the Palestinians? Nothing. They know nothing about Palestinians. Right? They don't know anything about the Israeli conflict. It's just an excuse. But together, this is one of my only explanations, because ultimately, of course, it is fundamentally baffling. But they seem to feel a sense of group identity when they get together and have all these protests. So it gives them a sense of belonging to each other
and meaningfulness.
Yeah. And these are people who clearly crave a sense of purpose, and think they found one.
Do you think it's linked to increased childlessness?
Probably. I mean, isn't having children the ultimate sense of purpose? It calls you to care for these people. You're the only one who's going to, if you're married, your husband, you're the only people who are going to take care of these people. They need you to survive. And that calls you to a primitive kind of loyalty that a lot of the women we're talking about do not enjoy. And, I have found a sense of purpose in my work. But everyone doesn't have that.
And I think that's the point that I was trying to make when I was saying that, when I was talking with Ravioli when he was here before the break, that I think women have set themselves up for this because they don't actually have enough challenge in their life. So they don't have that sense of purpose. They've got what they wanted and now they're stuck because there's this void in their life. They've got all of this entitlement. They've got this power over the man via the courts, especially the family courts, where what's said in family court must stay in family court. It's terribly abusive because typically the family courts are swayed, regardless of the facts, in favor of the woman, the mother, the female, and against certainly the white man in the developed world, no matter how right he might be and how innocent he might be and how he might be the best of the two parents for the children to be placed with. The courts will typically act against him. And these women, they have this temporary gratification, and they're over the moon, they're emboldened, it's all girl power, and go out with their girlfriends and celebrate. Yeah, didn't let him win, did I? But then what have they got? They've got this void. So they've chosen to win instead of being happy, because they're not happy, they're not content, so they're looking for something else to fill that void. They haven't got that purpose to have. You've got to strive when it comes to having a purpose. You've got to put yourself into it. They've got nothing to put themselves into. So let's hear a few more minutes of her and then we'll end stream. If I have something else to ramble on, I might have lost my thread there.
And I think there is a gratification in being that person who takes a genuinely they're always talking about the vulnerable, but there's nothing more vulnerable than a child.
Exactly.
And protects that child, feeds that child, nourishes and teaches that child, it turns and helps turn that person into a functional adult, ideally. I mean, that's a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And if you have just a kind of regular job, that you don't care very much about, I don't think that substitutes. So yeah, I think widespread childlessness is not unrelated.
Aha! So that's what I was saying. Yeah. I want to end it there because that's a great break in the interview before it goes on to the next part. Does it? Yeah, it does. Okay, and I've only got so long. So what I'm going to do is play an ending song. I'm going to thank all of you in the live chat or lurking, whether you're loving, you're hating, whatever. Thank you for being here, for exploring this matter with me. We will come back to this video, not next week, but in the future on another exploration, because it's going to be same time, same place every Thursday. Yeah, I'll just play an outro and I'll see you next week for another exploration.
Exploring consciousness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. From the realm of the dead, stumbling through fractured reality. Truth is a needle in a haystack, wondering what happened to me. Exploring happiness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. Was it all a bad dream? What on earth could have happened to me? Truth is a needle in a haystack. Discern fake from reality. Time lost, pitch black, dopamine hits, thinking slow and fast. Watch a narrative